Hey guys, it's so good getting to see you. Do you remember me? I'm Miss Catherine, and today I've got a whole new story to tell you guys. But before we get started, can you guys do me a really quick favor? Can you take this hand and put it on your one shoulder, and then take your other hand and put it on your other shoulder and give it a really big squeeze? That's a hug from me to you. I just miss you guys so much. I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday, and I cannot wait to teach you the lesson today. Before we get started, let's also jump into prayer. Now, can you guys do that favor with me and bow your heads, close your eyes, and then put your hands together and say a prayer with me? All right, let's get started. Dear God, thank you for today and for our friends and family. Please keep us safe and get our hearts ready for the lesson. Amen. Great job, guys. Now, do you remember what we talked about last week? Miss Maddie had a wonderful lesson. Do you remember that special word that she told you about? Let's think for a moment. What was that word that she used? Was it temptation? Does that sound familiar? Do you remember what temptation is about? Do you know what that word means? Let's think for a second. Could it be doing something that you want to do? Could it be something that you want to do, but you know that it's bad and you shouldn't do it? Yep, that's the one. That's the one that we want to watch out for. Temptation. It's when we want to do something that is not good, but we do it anyway. That's temptation. Now, that was a fantastic lesson from Maddie. Can you guys give her a round of applause? Yay, Miss Maddie! So, we've got a new lesson for you today. It's about Jesus. Can I hear that name real quick, really loud? I couldn't hear it. One more time, a little bit louder. Jesus. Yes, we're talking about Jesus today. And we're going to learn about a new friend today. His name is Nicodemus. Can I hear that really loud real quick? Can I hear it one more time, a little louder? Nicodemus. Yes, Nicodemus. You know, why is Nicodemus so important? Well, what I can tell you is that he was a very important person in Jesus' time. You see, he's somebody who knew all of God's rules. He knew every story. He knew everything that pretty much had to do about God. But the thing is although Nicodemus knew all this knowledge, all this things that go on in his head, he kind of missed a lot of the big pictures with God. And we're about to jump into that story. Are you ready? Let's get started. There was a man named Nicodemus who was one of the Pharisees and an important Jewish leader. One night, Nicodemus came to Jesus and said, "Teacher, we know you are a teacher sent from God, because no one can do the miracles you do unless God is with him." Jesus answered, "I tell you the truth. Unless you are born again, you cannot be in God's kingdom." Nicodemus said, "But if a person is already old, how can he be born again? He cannot enter his mother's womb again. So how can a person be born a second time?" But Jesus answered, "I tell you the truth. Unless you are born from water and the Spirit, you cannot enter God's kingdom. Human life comes from human parents, but spiritual life comes from the Spirit. Don't be surprised when I tell you, you must all be born again. The wind blows where it wants to, and you hear the sound of it, but you don't know where the wind comes from or where it's going. It is the same with every person who is born from the Spirit." Nicodemus asked, "How can this happen?" Jesus said, "You are an important teacher in Israel, and you don't understand these things? I tell you the truth. We talk about what we know, and we tell about what we have seen,
but you don't accept what we tell you.
Wasn't that an amazing story? How Nicodemus in the dead of night went to go talk to Jesus, wanting to hear more, wanting to learn more from Jesus. But you know what? He was kind of surprised by the answer that Jesus gave him. You see, the thing is that Nicodemus knew a lot of the little details, that little rules and things that God had made, and that stories about God. But he was missing the big picture. Like when we like to look at these little teeny tiny pieces and we focus so much on them that we lose focus of the bigger picture of what God is actually trying to say. You know what? In that moment, Jesus was trying to tell Nicodemus that the whole point of him being there was because he was going to save the whole world. Yes, God had made rules that he wants us to live by because he wants to protect us and keep us safe and live the right way according to what he wants, not what we want. But the big picture is that Jesus came down to save us, not to judge us, not to tell us that we were doing wrong, but to come and save the lost, because that was on his heart. That's what really mattered to him over everything. Isn't that amazing that he loves us so much that he came and saved us? That God so loved the world, he sent his only son to save us. And you know what? We can get a little bit caught up in the small details of life too. You want to learn of an exercise of kind of just the same thing? Let's get started.
Now take a look at this picture we have here. What's the first thing that you see? Take a good hard look. Maybe the first thing you see is this cup that's in the middle. But take a look again. What else is there? Do you see the two faces of the people beside the cup? Was that hard? Was that challenging? Let's try another one. Let's take a look at this picture. What's the first thing you see? Would it have been that deer in the corner? That's really easy to spot. But what else is there? What about that big deer in the background? Did you notice that right away? And let's try one last one. This might be a little bit tricky, so I'll give you a minute. Take a look at this picture. What's the first thing you see? Take a good hard look. Do you see the pretty lady who's got her head turned to the side? That'd be the first thing I see. But take a good hard look. Is there anything else there? Do you see the old woman with her head turning down? There she is.
That was pretty cool, wasn't it? It's amazing how you saw little tiny pieces in those paintings and those pictures that seemed like that must have been what we were supposed to focus on. But in reality, we were missing the bigger picture, that we were missing this wider view. And that's the thing is that because we're human, we're smaller. We don't see the big picture all the time. Don't you feel like that sometimes? Sometimes when something's going on in your life and it seems like you don't understand what's happening and you're too close to it and you just don't understand what's happening, well, that happens a lot in life, even as you get older, that sometimes things just don't make sense and we don't have all the pieces and we just don't see the big picture that God has for us. But that's in those moments when we need to trust God, that we need to know at the heart of it that God has good intentions for us. He sees the big picture. He's the one who matters. So just like Nicodemus, who wasn't really paying attention to the big picture, he got the opportunity to learn what the big picture was. Isn't that amazing how just amazing God is? Well, I'm so glad that you guys can join us for today. I hope you had a great time enjoying this lesson, and I cannot wait to see you next week, and have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Love you guys. Bye.